In today's video, we're going to take a look at the handmade buttonholes on my Bespoke Will Whiting shirts and decide whether or not they're worth it. I'm Kirby Allison, and I love helping the well-dressed acquire and care for their wardrobes. Join me as we explore the world of quality, craftsmanship, and tradition. Hi, I'm Kirby Allison, and in today's video, we're going to take a closer look at my two most recent Bespoke shirts from Bespoke Shirtmaker Will Whiting. Particularly, we're going to take a look at the handmade buttonholes up close and see if they're worth the extra money. If you're new to the channel or haven't yet subscribed, please hit the red subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner to join the Kirby Allison YouTube community, and turn on your notifications so that you can learn whenever we release new videos. And of course, if you don't follow me on Instagram at Kirby Allison, it's the best way to stay up to date as to what's going on in our world here. And please visit KirbyAllison.com. Of course, it's how we support this YouTube channel, and there you'll find the largest collection of luxury garment care and luxury shoe shine accessories in the world, like Saphir shoe polish and this beautiful sovereign grade necktie that I'm wearing today. Now, these are my two most recent Bespoke shirts from Will Whiting. This is a beautiful button-down chambray shirt. This is kind of like a denim, a beautiful casual shirt for whenever I'm looking to make things a little bit less formal. And finally, a perfect shirt for summer. This is a beautiful 100% linen dress shirt, again with Will's beautiful button-down collar that has just an absolutely opulent roll to this collar. If you haven't seen the unboxing videos or any of the other videos that we have filmed with Will Whiting, I encourage you to take a look at those. You can find the links in the description of this video. We walked through his entire process, even selecting the swatches for these two shirts whenever he was visiting us here in Dallas. And then finally, our most recent video with Will, which was the unboxing of these two shirts. But now that we have them unboxed and I've had an opportunity to send these to the dry cleaners to have pressed, I just wanted to take a deep dive in one of the more nuanced elements of these shirts that really make them exceptional, and that are the handmade buttonholes. Now, handmade buttonholes are really something most closely associated with the Italians. Now, of course, the Italians in their shirt making really are most closely associated with the exceptional handwork of handmade buttonholes. This just isn't something you find from Parisian shirt makers or even the British shirt makers. Now, handmade buttonholes, of course, come at a cost, and the question is, are they worth it? To get handmade buttonholes on one of Will Whiting's shirts, it's a full 200 extra pounds. Now, that's for his hand finishing package, which includes more than just handmade buttonholes, but it certainly is an indication of the additional cost to do all these buttonholes by hand versus just using a machine. Now, let's go back to the origin of handmade buttonholes. Back in the early 20th century, buttonhole machines were really expensive. I mean, even today, a buttonhole machine will cost $6,000. So a lot of the small Italian shirt makers just didn't have the money to invest in a buttonhole machine. Instead, they learned how to make their buttonholes by hand. Now, fast forward to today, where most all buttonholes are done by hand, you still have a few shirt makers that are hanging on to the nuanced elements of shirt making, the craft at its finest, really embellishing the product and offering buttonholes by hand, and Will Whiting, of course, is one of those people. Now, this chambray shirt has Will Whiting's hand finishing option, right? So that extra 200 quid gives me all the bells and whistles of his hand finishing, whereas the linen shirt doesn't. So I thought it'd be a great opportunity to kind of compare and contrast the difference in a handmade buttonhole versus one done by machine, and then talk about whether or not it's worth the extra money. So let's take a look at these beautiful kind of Will Whiting handmade buttonholes. I mean, the first thing you see whenever you look at a handmade buttonhole really is the finish, the finesse, the cleanliness. This, at the end of the day, is what you're paying for with the handmade buttonhole. Now, with the machine buttonhole, of course, it still works just as well as a hand-finished buttonhole, and with the exception of some of the exceptionally high-end fabrics, is really just as durable. Whenever you commission a bespoke shirt at this level, let's be honest, part of what you're paying for is the craftsmanship and the handwork of just an exceptionally well-produced product that is really unrivaled by anything that you can get made to measure or even from a factory. And that comes all the way down to small details like the hand buttonholes. So whenever you look at Will's hand buttonholes, of course you can immediately see just how clean this is. It lies flat, there's no fraying at either ends, and actually there's a higher stitch density to the way the buttonholes are made. Now, another thing that you'll notice is if you pull this apart, you don't see any of the fabric there in the middle. One of the things with a machine buttonhole is at the end it has to be cut, and that basically allows some of the fabric to extend beyond the edge of the buttonhole into that interior. Whereas with a handmade buttonhole, it is cut first and then sewn by hand, which allows that thread to really kind of wrap all the way around the interior of the buttonhole itself. Turning it to the back side, again, you can see the cleanliness of just how beautiful this is. It lies flat, it's not bulky, it's exceptionally well done. Now those details, at the end of the day, just create a shirt that is cleaner and aesthetically tighter than something that is done by machine. Now let's take a look at the machine buttonholes on this other Will Whiting shirt, and we'll see in a little bit closer detail kind of what I'm talking about. First, to the hand, this is stiffer, it's got a little bit more bulk to it, and you can see how it doesn't have that same stitch density kind of around the outside edge. It's not as clean, but then if you open it up, again, you see kind of the fabric coming in where that fabric is kind of extending beyond the actual threads of the buttonhole where it was cut. Turn it around to the back, again, kind of much of the same. You see a little bit more of a zigzag pattern. Now these, of course, are Will Whiting's machine-made buttonholes, which as far as buttonholes are concerned, are probably among the best. But again, those small details are just those nuanced elements of a handmade, bespoke shirt that really just take it to the next level. Now, is it worth it? I mean, that is an excellent question, and I think it really boils down to whether or not you can afford it and whether or not that's something you're into. If someone's just looking for a great shirt that's going to fit exceptionally well, maybe they want some details in the make, maybe the way that the collar's done that you can't find off the rack, but otherwise they're just looking for a shirt to wear, then maybe you're not going to splurge the extra money for handmade buttonholes. But if you're someone that really is into the craftsmanship of the shirt, then handmade buttonholes are certainly something to do if you can spare the extra 200 pounds. That probably won't be noticed by that many other people, but certainly will give you that extra degree of satisfaction whenever you put on your shirt knowing that it's been made to the absolute highest standards. At the end of the day, you're simply paying for a more refined product. Now, how much extra time does it take to do a buttonhole by hand? I mean, it really blows my mind whenever I asked Will, but basically in the time that it would take a buttonhole machine to do an entire shirt, one of Will's seamstresses can do a single buttonhole. So whenever you think about the upcharge for handmade buttonholes, you can really understand why it does come at a significant premium. It really boils down to it taking almost an order of magnitude more time to do the buttonholes completely by hand. Now, while we have these shirts here, why don't we take a look at some of the other details that are included in Will's partial hand finishing. Now, that 200 pounds gets you more than just a few buttonholes. It actually gets you a significant amount of hand finishing to, again, extend that neatness and cleanliness to the entire aesthetic of the shirt itself. So there's a few things I just wanted to point out here. You know, first and foremost, and probably most importantly, the collar and the sleeve on his hand finishing is totally attached by hand. So let's take this beautiful wooden shirt hanger out of this shirt. Of course, this is one of our wooden shirt hangers that we sell here at Kirby Allison. One size doesn't fit all whenever it comes to your clothing. The same should be true whenever it comes to your hangers. And our shirt hangers, again, come in 4 sizes. So it allows you to perfectly size the width of the hanger to extend as close to the edge of the shoulders without going past. Of course, that is a huge, important characteristic to ensure that you don't get any shoulder bumps. So let's set this aside and take a look again at some of these hand finishing details. So first, with Will's hand finishing, the collars and the cuffs are completely set in by hand. So look again at just how clean this is along this line. You don't see any second seam which you would see on a machine finish. So again, this just sits kind of perfectly clean and flat. And again, that is that hand finishing. Now, it's hard to see it here on this linen shirt because of just how well it's finished. But here you basically have 2 seams. One, this doesn't overlap perfectly. It's not as clean as the hand finishing on the bottom edge. But there's a second seam that runs along right here, basically kind of closing that up. So there's essentially two seams on the machine finished shirt, and one of those seams you don't get with the hand finishing. Next, let's look at the sleeves. So where the sleeve is attached to the body of the shirt at the sleeve head, this is another point where, again, Will is finishing this shirt by hand. You can barely see the pick stitching here along the interior seam of the shirt. So this seam right here, of course, is done by machine. This is what's attaching the two pieces of fabric together. It's done by machine because it's stronger. But then to conceal the rest of that fabric, you have another seam right here. On Will's hand finishing, this is done by hand. Now let me pull out one of my Chambray shirts. I think it's probably a little bit easier to see it. So here is one of my Chambray shirts, and Chambray does an exceptional job. I mean, as far as machine finishing is concerned, they are amongst the cleanest anywhere. But here you see at the sleeve, you've got this seam right here that is attaching those pieces of fabric. But then you've got this second seam on the interior where basically the rest of that fabric is being folded over and then concealed. So again, look at that right here. You've got the seam right here that's attaching those two pieces of fabric, and then this second seam that is basically concealing kind of the overage or the selvage of the fabric itself. So let's take a look at Will's shirt. Open this up a little bit more. And you can see, again, we have this same seam right here that's attaching the fabric, but right here on the outside, you see where this is done by hand. And if I get close, you can see me kind of pull that apart and you can see the thread. And so doing that by hand just allows it to be done with more finesse so that whenever you turn the shirt over, that seam all but disappears. I mean, it's almost an invisible stitch on the shirt itself. That same principle kind of goes over to the back where the yoke is again set in by hand. You've got the long seam here, but that second seam, again, finished by hand. Here it's with a little bit more of a pronounced pick stitch, which are those little kind of picks that you see along the edge. It's the same type of stitching you see on the outside edge of most suits. Again, if we turn this over, and then you also see it along the shoulder line. And again, here it's almost decorative, right? It's a small little subtle detail that was done by hand. And it's just helping kind of control this seam, make it lie flatter, and then it's just a part of the finishing that I think is an exceptional detail. So these are absolutely subtle details that really escape the untrained eye, but you know, once you get onto the nuance of really fine shirt making, it's just those subtle details that really kind of can set apart exceptionally well-made bespoke shirt apart from the rest. Now, is it worth it? Of course, I think really it's just a matter of personal opinion. I don't want to get moral about it to say that it's good or bad. I particularly love kind of seeing just how well finished and how clean these shirts are. There are two characteristics that are really important to me in kind of choosing a shirt maker. That's why I don't put any front pockets on my shirts. It's why I don't have any pleats on the back, because I just want a clean aesthetic that has a great kind of visual line and drape to it. And I think that refinement is really what I expect from a well-made bespoke product. And of course, don't forget one of the final details of a well-made bespoke shirt, certainly one of the most important, and that is having the buttons sewn on by hand with the shank. This is just one of those details that I think actually has a very pragmatic purpose. Having this offset from the shirt kind of allows it to be buttoned with significant ease versus having the button basically sewn straight onto the shirt. And so even if you're not getting handmade buttonholes, if you are having your shirts made by any qualified bespoke maker, I would absolutely pay the extra money to have the buttons sewn on by hand with the shank. A few companies can do it with the machine like Chambray, but again, one of those small details that every single time you go to button your shirt, you'll be thankful you paid for. If you have any questions about these shirts, please do let me know in the comments section below. And of course, let me know what your thoughts are on handmade buttonholes. Are they worth it, or am I just completely out of my mind? I don't know, probably questionable. If my wife knew, she'd probably throw me out of the house. But when you look at the shirt and you look at how well it's made and how just cleanly it's finished, those small details really do add up and aggregate to create a product that is just absolutely first class and exceptional. And whenever it comes to Will Whiting's shirts, as those who have watched our other videos with Will can attest, best. He stops at nothing to produce the absolute finest product. If you like this video, of course, give us the thumbs up, and if you're new or haven't yet subscribed to our channel, please hit that red subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner. We'd love to have you as a part of this community. And of course, turn on your notifications so that you can learn whenever we post new videos. If you don't follow me on Instagram, please do. @Kirby Allison is probably the best way to stay up to date as to what's going on. And if you haven't visited KirbyAllison.com, please do. Of course, it's how we support this YouTube channel. And there you'll find the largest selection of luxury garment care and luxury shoe care accessories in the world, as well as other great clothing accessories like this beautiful sovereign grade necktie I'm wearing and pocket square. And of course, don't overlook our collection of luxury garment hangers like this beautiful wooden shirt hanger that I have here with me today. Available in up to 4 sizes, allows you to perfectly size the hangers to extend all the way to the edge of the shoulders, and thereby completely eliminating any risk of shoulder dimpling. And of course, all of our luxury hangers are available in 3 beautiful finishes: our traditional finish, our natural maplewood finish, and our very popular Alfred finish. For more information about the outfit I'm wearing, please visit my IGTV @KirbyAllison, where we're posting almost daily recaps of my outfits. And if you haven't seen our other videos with Will Whiting, you're in for a treat. Take a look at our entire playlist of videos where we walk through the first time Will took my measurements all the way through the delivery of these shirts. You can find the link to this playlist in the description of this video. I'm Kirby Allison, and I love to help the well-dressed acquire and care for their wardrobes while exploring the world of quality, craftsmanship, and tradition. Thanks for watching.